يلا يا مريم. Start please if you can.
استاذ فيني بس ما في حدا غيري يقرا اليوم.
ما أنا I'm trying والله to ask them بس no one wants to read.
استاذ منع مشكلة.
خلاص wait مريم I will read today don't worry.
استاذ.
Okay طيب question 15 retinitis pigmentosa. So we have the layer of cells inside the eyes is called retina, the one that help us to capture light and form images. Sometimes people can get a problem in this let's say layer. It could be sometimes from diabetes or it could be genetic. No problem ya Jana, you want to start. If you can.
بتشارك من الأول أو
Please
كيف؟
يلا أنا بعد ما I didn't read anything yet.
Okay, retinitis pigmentosa, a hereditary disease, is the main cause of visual impairment. 30% of visual deficiencies.
يعني it means يعني vision problems. Okay, vision problems, so they cannot see in the beginning. Okay, the disease starts.
The disease starts by affecting night vision and reducing the visual field. It is caused by progressive degeneration of rod cells, which are photoreceptor cells of the retina containing the protein rhodopsin.
فإذا the cells in the retina inside the eye produces a protein called rhodopsin that helps us to see. Those people have a genetic disease. They cannot produce this protein, so they start losing the ability to see first during night, then the field of view, يعني the angle of view decreases. Little by little they lose their sight completely. Okay, and it's a genetic. Pay attention, so nothing can be done. Okay, to understand, يلا جنى.
To understand the origin of this disease, we study the structure of proteins encoded by different alleles of rhodopsin gene.
فإذا we want to study the gene producing the rhodopsin. Okay.
Yes. The rhodopsin gene, consisting of 1044 pairs of nucleotides, encodes a protein of 348 amino acids.
طيب, wait Jana a little please. So, 1044 pairs of nucleotide and gives me 348 amino acids. If you remember, for every amino acid, and I need how many nucleotides? And I call them codon.
3.
Very good, ya Jana. فإذا every 3 nucleotides form with me 1 amino acid. Okay, طيب here 3, 4, 8 amino acid. If I multiply it by 3, how much I get?
1044.
1044 exact. 1044 exact. Okay, very good. طيب يلا يا جنى, document 1.
Document 1 represents a portion of the nucleotide sequence of the alleles of the rhodopsin gene and that of the amino acid sequences of the corresponding proteins in individuals with normal phenotype and individuals with retinitis
pigmentosa. Okay, portion of the nucleotide here and here affected. طيب, and portion of the amino acid of the protein. طيب, let's first try to compare the DNA sequence of both. Do we find any change?
Yes.
Where?
In the 5th column, the nucleotide number.
Yes.
Yes, in the nucleotide number 404 and 405, the G is replaced with D.
404, 405, G is replaced with T. Did this affect the sequence of the amino acids?
Yes, from alanine to valine.
From alanine 2 valine.
Valine. Yes.
There is no valine. There is no valine, ya Jana. There is arginine in the normal and leucine in the affected. So from arginine to leucine.
أنا شفتها هيك على التيبل كان.
لا, not in the table. Here, in this, let's say, in this table.
اوكي استاذ لا انا السي جي جي والسي تي تي عملتها ماسنجر ار ان اي ورحت شفتهم من على التيبل.
لا ما انت you don't know if this is the transcribed or the coding. They didn't tell us.
بس في تي.
في تي ما هو DNA is 2 strands.
Yes.
One is the transcribed and the other is coding. You don't know which one is this.
Yes. So
we look here. The arginine is replaced by leucine. Type question 1 يا جانا. Pick out
from the text the cause of retinitis pigmentosa.
So, okay, when we say pick out, what do we mean by this?
I mean from the text.
From the text. So the cause of retinitis pigmentosa caused by what?
Is progressive degeneration of rod cells.
Exactly, which are photoreceptor cells of the retina containing the protein rhodopsin. Very good. Type question 2.
Compare the 2 nucleotide sequence and the 2 amino acid sequence presented in document 1 throughout the origin of this
Okay, how we start the comparison?
With both?
First with similarities.
Yes.
Okay, فإذا concerning DNA portion of the nucleotide, they are the same sequence except, as you said, in nucleotide pair number 404 and 405.
Yes.
There is GG in the normal, but it is replaced by TT in the affected. And concerning the amino acid sequence, amino acid number, they are the same, but amino acid number 135 in the normal is arginine, while it is in the second one, or in the affected one, is leucine. Type. Can we read the answer, ya Jana?
Yes. The allele of the individual with normal phenotype and that of the affected individual are identical except at their nucleotides 404 and 405. The normal allele has 2 GG nucleotides, while the allele responsible for retinitis has 2 nucleotides TT.
Very good, yes.
The 2 amino acid sequence are identical except at their 135 amino acid arginine in the sequence of the normal individual and leucine in the sequence of the affected individual. Thus, the modification of the nucleotide sequence of the rhodopsin gene is translated in a modification of the protein, which is at the origin of the disease.
Exactly, which is at the origin of the disease. Very good. Type. Until here, is it clear? Is there any question?
Clear.
Type. Jana, finish 3 and then we move to another part.
Explain how the modifications in the nucleotide sequence of the allele in document 1 leads to the appearance of the previously mentioned symptoms of retinitis pigmentosa.
Retinitis pigmentosa, how the modification in the nucleotide leads to the appearance of this problem. Okay, yalla, who can answer this? It is easy. How the modification in the nucleotide sequence lead to the appearance of the disease. Okay, when we change the nucleotides, what will be changed?
أستاذ هو صار عندنا mutation by substitution.
Okay.
بعدين ال DNA transmitted at mRNA.
So there will be a change in messenger RNA.
which leads to amino acid LEU instead of ARG.
Okay, so this will affect now.
Yes.
Yes, what?
It affects the protein rhodopsin.
Okay, rhodopsin, the structure of the protein. Okay, making the protein inactive.
Yes.
Okay. So, the mutation by substitution of nucleotide 404 and 405 of the DNA was transcribed at the messenger RNA level by a new codon that result in a new amino acid leucine instead of arginine. This new amino acid sequence affects the three-dimensional structure of the protein rhodopsin, which becomes non-functional. Since this protein exists in the rod cells, the change in its function manifested by impaired night vision in a person with retinitis pigmentosa. Okay. Type. Now we will move now to study a pedigree of a family of its members affected with retinitis pigmentosa. The question says, now specify if the allele responsible for the disease is dominant or recessive and indicate its chromosomal location. So now we want to study if this allele is dominant or recessive. This is the first part. Type. Okay. Subhiya, can you answer me for this, please? Can you answer me?
أستاذ هو dominant.
طيب let's see. طيب why you say dominant?
أستاذ لأنه بالgeneration 1 الparents 1 and 2 عندهم child number 3 اللي 2 و 3 اللي هن normal، ولو هن كانوا recessive، لو كان disease recessive كان كل ولادهم المفروض يكونوا affected.
Okay.
So هن عندهم masked normal allele.
فإذا نحن we look here at an affected parents with normal child. فإذا the normal child number 3 for example or number 222 or 23 concerning the generation has both affected parents 1 and 2. This means that the parents are carrying the normal allele. This means the normal allele is masked in the parents, so the normal is recessive. This means that the disease is dominant. Okay, the question is now, let's see the localization. Who can answer me about this? The localization. يلا.
أستاذ إذا بدك جاوب.
Wait يا مريم, wait. Let me hear from Subhiya or Rana.
Okay.
يلا Subhiya, Rana, can you answer me please? Can you answer me? Qasim? Can you answer this question, number 4? We proved it dominant. But can you prove where it is localized? Autosomal, non-chromosomal part of X, non-homologous part of X, non-homologous part of Y, or homologous part of X and Y. Can you prove this, ya Qasim?
Localized on an autosome.
لحظة رنا. Okay, what did you say?
إنه هو localized on an autosome.
How did you prove it يا رنا?
بنعمل deny أول شيء للكل إنه non-homologous X و Y.
Okay, can you do this?
Okay, أول شيء إذا الأليل كان non-homologous بالsegment of chromosome Y.
Okay.
Transmitted from father to son. يعني كل الميلز كان حيكون فيه.
All the males should be affected.
Yes, which is not the case.
Which is not the case. طيب.
Or if it was on non-homologous segment of chromosome X,
Okay.
then it should be transmitted to all the girls, which is also not the case.
We cannot do this. We cannot do this. If it is, you said, on non-homologous part of X. Okay.
Yes.
Now.
فينا نعطي example مثلا.
Yes, example will be better.
Yes, the father I to transmit his like dominant daughters.
So
dominant allele transmitted to the daughter.
Which father?
I too.
1, 2. So the father, his genotype will be X, let's say disease capital D now, صح?
XY.
XDY.
Yes.
So XDY now, he will give the X to his daughters.
Yes.
So all his daughters should be affected.
Which is also not the case.
Which is not the case.
لا واحدة منهم بس.
لا, all his daughters should be affected.
Yes, yes.
صح? All his daughters should be affected. Which is not the case. Okay. Now,
yes.
فإذا it is not on the non-homologous part of X. We proved this.
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's see if we can prove it on homologous part of X and Y.
فينا نطلع على البوي 2 يعني I 2.
Boy 2, the normal one. What is the problem with him?
إذا كان homologous he should have received Y chromosome carrying the normal allele from his father.
لحظة, we're talking now about the disease. يعني if the disease now is on homologous part of X and Y, okay?
Yes, then he is affected.
So we take 2 normal kids, like 2, and 2, 3.
Yes.
The 2 should be normal, يعني X small n, Y small n. The 2, 3 should be X small n, معناته their father should be normal.
Sure.
But this is not the case. فإذا this means
the disease is localized on an autosome.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Yavana.
Welcome.
Thank you for your help. So this is very good. You see how we prove it? طيب Rana, بس can I ask you one last thing so we can read it together please?
Yes.
Okay. طيب معلش it's a long answer but we had to.
Okay, بقرا لك.
لو سمحتي.
The allele of the disease is dominant with respect to the normal allele since the healthy man 2-2 has both his parents 1-1 and 1-2 affected by retinitis pigmentosa.
Okay.
Thus, the parents carry the normal allele which is masked by the allele of the disease. D equal allele of the disease, N equal normal allele. The allele of the disease is localized on an autosome since if the allele of the disease is carried by non-homologous segment of chromosome Y, then it should be transmitted from father to son. However, sick father 1-2 has a healthy son 2-2. Therefore, the allele is not carried by the non-homologous segment of chromosome Y. If the allele of the disease is carried by the non-homologous segment of chromosome X, then the sick father 1-2 should transmit this dominant allele to all his daughters who will be all sick. However, daughter 2-3 is healthy. Thus, the allele is not carried by the non-homologous segment of X chromosome. If the allele is carried by the homologous segment of chromosome X and Y, then the boy 2-2 who is normal recessive should have received Y chromosome carrying the normal allele from his father. Similarly, girl 2-3 who is normal should have inherited X chromosome carrying the normal allele from her father. Therefore, their father should have the genotype XN-YN and would be normal, which is not the case. Therefore, the allele is not carried by the homologous segment of chromosomes X and Y.
Okay. فإذا it is autosomal because we proved it's not on any of the three locations, the X, non-homologous X, non-homologous Y, and homologous part of X and Y. Now, we want to determine, determine the genotype of 2-3 and 2-4. We want to determine the genotype of 2-3 and 2-4. Now, 2-3 is a normal female. So what her genotype is going to be?
NN.
X sorry NN صح لأنه أوتوزومال ما بقى في X و Y. صحيح 100%. فإذا NN لأنه أوتوزومال. Okay. طيب. Now 2-4.
DN.
DN. Why you said DN not DD?
No, he affected but carries normal allele.
How do you know it carries a normal allele?
From her parents.
We cannot decide from this. Okay, how we know that?
It says her parents are affected. The sound of normal allele, they are carried of normal allele. So she took one affected allele from her mother, for example, and one from his father, from her father. Found at the end.
بس نحن we don't look at the parents in this case. We look at what? At the children.
Okay.
Okay. She مثلا 4 female affected female, but she has normal children. صح?
This means that she's a carrier, yes.
صح. She gave one of them. Okay. She gave them a normal allele.
Yes.
So that's why she will be D small n. Okay.
Okay.
So this is easy. طيب. Okay. بسم الله. طيب. Now 6. Woman 3-2. 3-2 يعني she's the affected female 3-2 married her cousin 3-3 affected male. Determine the risk for this couple to have children with retinitis pigmentosa. Okay. Who did this in the homework?
أنا أستاذ بس ماني متأكدة إذا صح.
طيب tell me what you did.
أنا قلت إنه 3-2 and 3-3 has a normal healthy father but are affected. So عندهم DN.
لحظة.
يعني
Let's see.
genotype
Can we make sure? Okay. فإذا number 2 3-2 she is heterozygous.
Yes.
Why it is heterozygous? لأنه she has a normal father. Her parents, المother DN والfather NN. فإذا for sure number 3-2 will be DN.
Yes.
طيب. For the number 3, her husband now.
The same thing.
The same thing. Okay.
Both عندهم genotype DN.
Both have a genotype DN. So what is the chance that they get an affected child now? What we can do here, we can do the Punnett square.
بس بيطلع 50% normal و 50% affected.
How you calculated this يا مريم?
أستاذ بالحق.
أنا ما بتدعي.
How you calculate, Maryam, how you calculated this?
أستاذ إنه بنعمل Punnett square.
Punnett square, okay, what do you put on both, let's say on the sides?
أستاذ DN إنه الاثنين parents.
ممتاز. DN. طيب, so what is the chance that I get an affected, okay, an affected child?
نصهم حيطلعوا DN ونصهم حيطلعوا NN.
كيف NN يا مريم؟ You told me the table DN. صح؟
أنا آسف.
The table is DN and DN. فإذا now
affected.
لحظة, DD will be affected. DN will be affected or DN will be affected. The only normal one will be NN.
Yeah.
So the chance to get an affected child is a 3 out of 4.
يعني 75%.
يعني 75%. Okay, it is 75%. It's by doing the Punnett square easily. But
Yeah,
first, you should know that the parents are heterozygous. Whenever you decide this, okay, it will be easy. I will read the answer. 3-2 and 3-3 have necessarily inherited the normal allele from their healthy father and are thus heterozygous DN. فإذن each one of them gives 2 types of gametes, 1/2 N, half N, and half D, capital D. A heterozygous couple have 3/4 of its children affected. Thus, the risk for this couple to have an affected child is 1 times 1 times 3/4 is a 3/4, or the child will be sick. If he inherits another way of answering, capital D from the father, capital D from the mother, or D from father, N from mother, N father, D mother, So the total will be 3/4 children with retinitis. Or, yeah, 3 ways you can solve it here. The child will be normal if he inherits n from the father and n from the mother, 1/4. So the risk to be affected will be total 1 minus 1/4, 3/4. In all cases, we get 3/4. So you can solve it by either way, Punnett square, or by multiplication, or by calculating the normal and then subtracting the normal from the total. Subtracting the normal from the total. Okay, clear? Clear? Type. Okay. When do you think, guys, since somehow everyone is here, when do you think we can do a quiz about this chapter, like the one we did for the mutation? Or somehow similar?
كمان أستاذ كمان بده يكون إنه مثل
هلا we can manage this. هلا I'm not talking about the form. Before I want to agree with you about the date.
أستاذ الأسبوع الجاي لأنه هالأسبوع كله
ما أنا I don't okay أنا I don't want to make it so late لأنه أنا I want صراحة to start with the immunity.
أستاذ already بكرة بعده عن بحس إنه سبب شيء.
طيب فإذا we fix it on Saturday.
إن شاء الله.
What do you think? As you can see, it doesn't need a lot of studying. It's just analyzing.
Yes.
Okay, it is just analyzing. أو إذا بدكم we can do it Friday.
لا أستاذ السبت أحسن.
Friday night مثلا هي just 10-15 minutes حتكون.
Last is Friday صعب.
Friday صعب لأنه أنا بتكون outside Friday. Okay. هلا I'm thinking now of giving a question, let's say like the one we are solving now. يعني I want to change a little from the multiple choice. Okay? Like the questions we are solving now. هلا if you want we give 45 minutes, no problem.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, we give for it 45 minutes. I think it will be enough. فإذا we choose one of these questions that we are solving, no problem. Okay? طيب. Okay, تحسين, you want to ask about this question ولا another one? ولا in general you mean? تحسين has a question about the how we calculate the proportions or the risk. You have يا تحسين to calculate first the risk for each parent. Okay, the risk for each parent. And then what is the risk they get an affected child, and you multiply the 3. يعني you have 3 proportions here يا تحسين. يعني 3 fractions. Fraction for the first parent, what is the chance of having the disease or carrying the disease? بعدين the second one, بعدين what is the chance that the baby, the fetus, will get the 2 alleles from the parents? Okay, together you multiply the 3, you can get the risk. لأنه there is no general rule for this. It is just by practice. Okay, no general rule. It is a practice. Okay, هلا if you want to solve a question and ask me about this small part, no problem, I can help you. And not only
يعني
تحسين.
أستاذ
Yes.
مثلا بس سؤال
تفضل.
من وين جبنا 3 على 4 مثلا؟
Okay,
كيف جبناها؟
very good. طيب تحسين أنت can you answer me if I ask you now?
نجرب.
طيب okay good. طيب tell me about the female 3-2. She is affected ولا normal؟
3-2
affected ولا normal؟
affected.
طيب what is her genotype؟ DD or DN؟
هي DN.
DN. Why I say DN؟ لأنه she took a normal allele from her father. صح؟
واحدة هي المذر.
طيب يعني فإذا نحن for sure هي DN.
Yes.
صح؟ هون ما عندك ريسك لأنه أنت you are sure about it.
Yes.
طيب look at her husband 2-3.
2-3.
كمان what about the chance of being what is his genotype؟
قصدك ال 2-3 ولا 3-2؟
لا عفوا 3-3. نحن حكينا عن 3-2 هلا حنحكي عن 3-3.
ال 3-3 هو male.
طيب what is his genotype؟ his genotype هل هو DD ولا DN؟
هلا هو احتمال يكون DD أو DN.
طيب he has a normal parent يا تحسين؟
Yes.
who his father صح؟
Yes 5.
فإذا أكيد he took the N from his father.
صح.
يعني معناتها إجباري يكون DN.
صح.
There is nothing else.
Yes.
فإذا الوايف DN والhusband DN both are DN.
Yes.
طيب now what is the chance of that the child is affected? Now we do the Punnett square. You know the Punnett square. صح؟ you put DN here DN here. طيب بيطلع عندك DD DN DN NN.
صح.
فإذا how many are affected out of the 4؟
3.
فإذا the risk is what؟ 3/4.
3/4.
Okay?
تمام.
You get it?
Yes.
That's it.
شكرا أستاذ.
يا هلا. فإذا there is no rule. You just take it from the question. Okay? You just take it from the question. طيب clear for everyone? Any question? فإذا we agreed نحن إن شاء الله on Saturday, okay, about our quiz about this chapter before we move on, okay, to the immunity إن شاء الله. Okay. يلا سلام عليكم.